Hey guys, welcome back. So part of the reason that this video took so long to come out is because I don't really have access to Silent Hill 2 at the moment, and I really wanted to get some footage from that, but all my stuff is in boxes because I had to move back in with my mom after losing my dad, and so yeah, getting footage of Silent Hill 2 was going to be tough. But and there seems to be no other way. Like I got a PS5 finally, and you can, I signed up for the PlayStation Plus Premium or whatever, the high tier, so that you can play, classic PS1 and PS2 games. And PS3 is streaming only, and that's because of the fucking hardware of the PS3, the cell processor. Cool at the time, but fuck, I think Sony would have maybe done things differently if they knew that emulation was going to be such a bitch. I mean, it's doable. There's guys on PC that have figured out PS3 emulation. I'd maybe hire some of those guys. Anyway, there's no way to play Silent Hill 2 on modern consoles, at least not the real one. If you've got your PS3 first generation that plays PS2 games, you can do that. In fact, let me just start off this video, since I'm going to be talking about the Silent Hill 2 remake, obviously. If you've never played Silent Hill 2, you've already fucked up. But you've already fucked up your whole life. You have missed out heavily. It is one of the greatest horror video games of all time. Possibly one of just the greatest games of all time. No other game in the series, Silent Hill, ever managed to really surpass it. That's not to say they all sucked afterward, but man, Silent Hill 2 was fucking lightning in a bottle. It was amazing. It was awesome. It had a very unique story, very deep story. It hit you in all the feels, and not necessarily in a warm, fuzzy way, because it's Silent Hill and it's like it's hell, basically. So immediately when I heard that Konami was going to remake Silent Hill 2, I was like, are you sure you want to do that? I saw the trailer. I was like, okay, they look a little differently, but it looks kind of okay. They didn't get to show us much, though. I had to do some digging after that, naturally, because I'm just that kind of guy. And you found out a couple things, like it's being made by Bloober Team. In fact, Silent Hill 2, the remake, isn't the only Silent Hill anything that Konami is currently working on. They're actually working on like 4 different things, and one of those includes a new movie by the original director, Christopher Gans, of the first Silent Hill movie. The one that was pretty decent. I never got to see the second one. You guys will have to tell me if you thought it sucked or not. From all accounts, it seems like it wasn't as good as the first movie. But yeah, he's making a sequel. It's going to be called Return to Silent Hill. And from what I've read, it seems to be loosely based on Silent Hill 2. There's a James, there's a Mary, but it seems like they weren't married. He like she was his lost love, and he's going to Silent Hill to see her, so they're already kind of taking liberties there. First movie took liberties. It still managed to be pretty decent, although you know me, I would have preferred it if it just stuck to the premise of the first game, but whatever. Yeah, so there's going to be another movie. Bloober Team is working on the Silent Hill 2 remake. Bloober Team is known for games like The Medium, which I haven't played. Looks pretty cool. I like the fixed camera angle elements. There seems to be some controversy that I don't want to speculate on, because I don't know the details, and I don't like to speculate on things I don't have all the facts about. But some people don't like Bloober Team. Who knows what that's about? Bloober Team also made Layers of Fear, which was heavily inspired by what you're looking at right now, PT, playable teaser. And this sudden interest that Konami has in Silent Hill again, I can't help but think of the now canceled Silent Hills that was being co-developed by Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro. And it's like, what are you doing, Konami? I thought you thought that this was. I thought you wanted to make nothing but pachinko machines and shit like that. That's the other thing. None of the upcoming Silent Hill projects are a pachinko machine. So there's that. Even before this news, though, Konami, they were showing signs of being interested in their IPs again. What do I mean by that? I mean they released like what 2, 3 Castlevania collections. There's the Dracula X collection, with Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood. Then they released the Advanced collection. Then it was 3. So there was the Classic collection before that, that had all the old NES original games, Castlevania 1, 2, and 3. Their Contra. They had a new Contra game that nobody liked. I didn't get a chance to play it. But yeah, they have been showing some love to their old IPs by releasing, collections of them, which they didn't have to do. I'm glad they did, though, because those games are great. They're old school and awesome. But there was the Castlevania animated series on Netflix, which I really liked. They took some liberties, but overall, I thought that it was good. Season 3 was a little weird, but then it turned things around in Season 4. So it was like Konami. Because the thing is, everyone thought they were insane, which, I mean, after canceling what they did. When you hear why, though, when you understand that they decided, it's like, okay, we're going to stop making AAA games. We're going to focus on doing stuff here in Japan. Konami isn't just a game developer in Japan. They've got, health clubs and, fucking gyms and, it's nuts. Yeah, and pachinko machines. But they focused on things at home. They focused on the mobile gaming market, which was huge in Asia. Not just in Japan, but China and Korea and just everywhere in the Asian market. And that was to cut costs and make profit. And unfortunately, I say unfortunately because fuck, is that a terrible way to make money? It worked. It actually worked. It took them. It saved them from total fucking bankruptcy. But because it worked, a lot of us who were paying attention thought, well, I guess this is what Konami's going to be from now on. We can pretty much kiss our favorite Konami IPs goodbye because they're not going to see profit. It costs a lot of money to make a AAA game now, and I don't think they want to spend it. But along the way, again, they were showing those little hints, those little clues. They're dipping their toes, and I say they're dipping their toes because none of these Silent Hill projects are being developed in-house. They're all being outsourced to developers that aren't even all Japanese. I mean, it's Bloober Team and fucking... I think Bloober Team's French? I could be wrong about that. But there's another one. They've also got a Silent Hill project called Silent Hill F, which is supposed to take place in, 1960s Japan, which sounds fucking weird. And then there is a proper, new Silent Hill game also being worked on by a completely different team. So they're not even tapping one developer to be their Silent Hill developer going forward. They are literally, it's like they're experimenting. They're dipping their toes in with all these different developers to see who comes out, and it went. But it also begs the question: is dude, you guys had Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro, which has made, still to this day, the only really fucking game that can really scare me. And it's not even a real fucking game. Even turning on PT, because I still have it on my PS4, it still makes me uncomfortable because I've said this before in my PT videos. If you've already beaten PT and then you play it again, it does not
it is not a first playthrough. It knows you've played it before and it fucks with you some more. And so like one time I turned it on and I already heard fucking Lisa crying and I was like, ah, fuck. But yeah, to this day, PT, scariest shit ever. And Silent Hills would have been the scariest shit ever, I'm sure. Yeah, Kojima released his Death Stranding. Not everyone liked it. I actually did like the game, but I absolutely understand why a lot of people didn't. And then trying to describe to people what makes Death Stranding fun is like trying to describe to people what makes Minecraft fun. It's like, oh, you're just doing a bunch of mining for different minerals and making stuff, and it's like, yeah, that sounds fucking lame. But then you actually play it, and it is ridiculously fun. Same thing with Death Stranding. You're going around delivering shit to people in like a post-apocalyptic fucking world, building roads for people and leaving ladders and ropes for people to climb on their deliveries. It sounds lame, I know, but when you actually like jump into it, it's pretty fucking fun. I really like Death Stranding, but I will wholeheartedly admit I knew when playing it that that game was not for everyone. So in that regard, I'm sure there are some people that have soured on Kojima for maybe they don't think he's the right guy for Silent Hills, but damn, to think of what could have been, it's still bittersweet. Don't get me wrong, I am glad that Konami is showing a sudden interest in coming back to Silent Hill, and we'll see what they can do. We'll see what is successful. We'll see if Bloober Team can pull off a not enviable task. And number one, from the few things I know about it, they modern controls, but they're going with the over-the-shoulder camera, which I was a little surprised by because they did make the medium, and that game seems to have fixed camera angles. And again, I know I'm an old dinosaur. I like me the fixed camera angles. Silent Hill 2 was the first fixed camera angle survival horror Resident Evil-esque game that actually gave you the option to use 3D controls, so you didn't have to control the character like a truck. It wasn't tank controls if you didn't want it to be. It actually did give you that three-directional style movement with the D-pad or the analog stick, because that was when we had the DualShock. DualShock 2, I should say, because it was on PlayStation 2. But that game, all you had to do was, like, you should have played around in that sandbox of third-person fixed camera angles, because I wish somebody would make a game that would light a fire under fucking like super massive games or the old Telltale games. It's like, here's the type of game you should be playing. There should be action, there should be combat in this fixed camera angle style, instead of making interactive fucking movies, which is what all of those games are. At least with Until Dawn, I mean, there were a lot of choices that you could make based on player choice, branching paths based on player choice. Sometimes it was bullshit how some things turned out, but at least there was a core game there. It was nice and meaty, and there was a lot to fuck around with Until Dawn. Whereas the later games, it's like you are just playing a fucking interactive movie. And I wish a game like Silent Hill could come out and show them, like, it would be such an awesome, like, especially if they because the Bloober Team, apparently they were fans. They grew up as fans. That's the nice thing about developers these days, is a lot of those guys are like my age and grew up with these fucking games, and they absolutely fucking love them, and they want to do right by them. Bloober Team seems to be in that camp, and they really want to do right by Silent Hill 2, and they know they have a fucking massive job ahead of them. I think they're adding endings as well. There were multiple endings in Silent Hill 2. The way you access those endings is entirely dependent on how you play as the main character, James Sunderland, which I know it sounds a little pretentious maybe, but no, it's absolutely true. I don't even want to tell you, like, I don't even want to tell you, because like I could have written a dissertation on Silent Hill 2. Okay, I'm serious. I even got into an argument like a few months back with a guy that thought that my my explanation of why James went to Silent Hill was, I guess, overly simplistic, and I don't even want to say what I said because even that is a spoiler. But yeah, I got into an argument with the guy, and I explained to him, I was like, no, 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 yeah, trust me, I fucking played the game, okay? I can tell you how I wanted to leave out a lot of details because I want people to go play it themselves. Seriously, everyone needs to play Silent Hill 2. But that game, it's one you'll always remember. It really is. And to try to remake it, even taking certain liberties, yeah, there's quality of life things you could always add. But the over the shoulder thing is, it's like not every game has to. You could have kept it in third person. Like Silent Hill, I never thought needed to go third person over the shoulder. Never. Just like work on tweaking combat in a fixed camera angle setting. Plus, it lends itself to it. Like the environments are more visible. You miss less in a fixed camera angle setting, and part of what made the Silent Hill games great was the fucking creepy environments that you were gonna definitely see once you walked to a certain area. Those games even had, unlike Resident Evil, the first Silent Hill game used completely 3D rendered backgrounds. It wasn't 2D, so they were very real. And at the time, the graphics were pretty impressive. Now, if you look at it, yeah, it looks like shit. But back then, the world was 3D. It wasn't a 2D backdrop with you controlling a 3D character walking around with it. And you could actually adjust the camera a little bit. So if you're having trouble with the view, well, Silent Hill kind of introduced that. It gave you a survival horror game that you could kind of tweak the camera. And you would see Capcom do this later too with Dino Crisis. So you could still make an awesome fixed camera angle survival horror game and just make the combat fun, make it engaging, make it. You could fuck with it, man. I'm telling you, the applications are there. Just do it. But no, they're gonna go with the over the shoulder camera. That's fine. It's fine as long as the game plays well. As long as the game plays well. But yeah, they have said all the right things, Bloober Team. They sound like they really want to do right by the original Silent Hill 2. But again, man, like there's so much I'm not saying because I want you, if you haven't played Silent Hill 2, to play Silent Hill 2. I mean, get it on emulator if you have to. Just get a PS2 emulator on the internet, get it, download it, and then download Silent Hill 2 and fucking play that shit. Because they don't make games like that anymore. They really fucking don't. And it's all we need are great, faithful remakes that make people want to jump back and check out what they missed, and that's all we need. And once that gets popularized again, maybe some AAA fucking companies will take notice and want to do the same thing. I mean, I just heard the same news about the Suicide Squad kills the Justice League. Oh, what kind of game is it? Oh, it's a live service game. Yay! That worked out really well for Avengers. And I will say this about Marvel's games. Play Guardians of the Galaxy. That game's actually fucking awesome. Okay, it's not like the Avengers at all. In fact, it saddens me that the Avengers hurt Guardians of the Galaxy, because Avengers was such a shit launch and such a greedy fucking piece of shit, and plus a bait and switch, making you play as Ms. Marvel, a character no one's liked ever. Ugh. Yeah, it's play Guardians of the Galaxy. That was a great game. It's actually, you really should check it out. A lot of people were like, it was kind of a meme, but they were saying that, like, remember, we could have had a Deus Ex game instead of this Avengers game, and which I found a little weird because Eidos Montreal is the one that developed Deus Ex, and they worked on Guardians of the Galaxy, not Avengers. That was Crystal Dynamics. I mean, yeah, they worked for the same company, Eidos, but like I felt that was definitely more apt for Guardians of the Galaxy. But Guardians of the Galaxy actually was a good game of the kind of quality that the Deus Ex, like Human Revolution and Mankind Divided are. If you want games like that, play Guardians of the Galaxy. That game deserves your money, it deserves your attention, and it deserves praise because it was actually pretty awesome. I have digressed heavily. I'm sorry. But yeah, Silent Hill 2 remake. You need to play Silent Hill 2. Like you honestly there's the HD, there's the old controversy, the HD collection Silent Hill 2 and 3. They took some liberties. I think they even changed some voice cast members. I never got to play it. I'm kind of glad I didn't. But I have not heard very good things about the HD remasters of this game. So that's why I'm emphasizing you should play the original Silent Hill 2. There is there are few experiences like it left in the world, and you. Silent Hill 2 was the type of game. Resident Evil and Silent Hill have always kind of been sort of competitors, even though Resident Evil came first. Silent Hill 2 was sort of that game that definitely created that division. You were either a Resident Evil fan or a Silent Hill fan, or maybe you were both, like me. Yeah, I think overall I prefer Resident Evil, but I love the shit out of Silent Hill, and when Silent Hill is done right, it is a different type of horror, but just as effective. Yeah, the Resident Evil games got kind of fast and furious. I compare the Resident Evil series in video games to the Fast and the Furious movies. I know that sounds terrible. I know that's not exactly a ringing endorsement, but no, think it over, okay? There's multiple movies, there's multiple games with a lot of the same cast members. When you try to describe who Leon is or who Chris is, I found it the analogy to use best is think of Chris Redfield as the Dominic Toretto of the Resident Evil series, and think of Leon S. Kennedy as the Paul Walker of the Resident Evil series, and they'll be like, "Oh, okay, so like super just a." They're both kind of main characters, but one's this way and the other's that way. It's like, yeah, basically. Silent Hill, on the other hand, does not have that sort of rotating cast. It's pretty much always a different protagonist, and the connections between games are there in sort of background lore. In fact, Silent Hill 3 was really the only game that felt like a sequel to the original Silent Hill game. I'm not going to say why, because that's a heavy spoiler. But Silent Hill 2 went in a completely different protagonist. Same town. The town's always the same. But it's always like different circumstances bringing different protagonists to Silent Hill for different reasons. And it's always been effective. Silent Hill Origins on PSP was a prequel to the original Silent Hill. But every once in a while, you'll have references to the first game, even sometimes the second game, but they're never really tangentially connected in any kind of concrete way. Again, only Silent Hill 3 was probably the most connected game to a previous Silent Hill, which was the first one. But it works. It works for the formula. Everyone has their own story. Silent Hill sort of is a reflection. The town itself is almost a reflection of the main character's sort of life. It is a twisted, distorted. It's a mirror, but a twisted mirror. So every reflection, what it reflects, is always going to be distorted and horrific in some way, and that is definitely true in Silent Hill 2. Oh my God! If you haven't played it, play it. I know I keep saying that, but no, seriously. I don't. I don't envy anyone who has the task of trying to remake that game. They've got Akira Yamaoka, the original music composer, and that's a big deal, man. Like, Silent Hill music is kind of a big deal. I mean, you go back and listen to some of those tracks. I mean, you can find them on YouTube. Find the intro to Silent Hill 1. That's the one everyone's pretty much heard. I think that the movie even used that music.
They used it at the end of Silent Hills, the PT. The music, pretty much the music to every game that Team Silent, the original developer team of Silent Hill 1 through 4, has that awesome music. So I mean, they're already Bloober Team knew to do that. It's like the music is kind of, you don't even think of it because you're going through so much other shit. There's so much aesthetic detail and you know signature Silent Hill things that are just visually there, but the music is a big deal, and it's one of those things you almost have to remind people that what makes Silent Hill is the music. The music and sound effects are the kind of thing you don't always pay attention to or notice until you play a game in the series and it doesn't have those. Like Dead Space, the Dead Space remake. I played it, it's pretty awesome. I have very few complaints about it, but I didn't realize how much the sound effects mattered to me until I heard them again in the Dead Space remake. Every time you pick up something, every time you walk over something that's collectible or interactive, it makes the sound effect from the old games, and it was like, huh, I'm glad that's there. I'm glad it sounds like how it used to. Biggest complaint about the Dead Space remake is like, why the fuck didn't you get Keith Saraboshka back as Dr. Kyne? That dude's voice is legendary. Joshua Graham, Fallout, New Vegas, him, dude's awesome. Why didn't you get him back? He's still alive. But yeah, no, the Dead Space remake I can certainly vouch for. It's pretty awesome. I think both games are worth playing simply because Isaac talks in the remake now, and it is a different sort of experience. I think a better experience than in the original game, but I do think playing the original game is certainly worth your time, especially if you're a connoisseur of survival horror. But yeah, music is one of those things. Sound effects is one of those things. Even the menu sounds of Silent Hill are iconic as well. So as long as they get all that right, we'll see, man. I really hope it's awesome. Dead Space kind of put me in a good mood about some of these, and I have seen what I've seen of the Resident Evil 4 remake. Gameplay looks fucking awesome. Krauser's there, and it's not a QTE fight anymore when you first run into him. It's an actual fucking fight with actual fucking mechanics. I'm pretty pumped. I am a little... So Capcom released sort of a gameplay trailer to certain YouTubers and quote-unquote influencers. I saw Maximilian Dude's video on it, and one of the first things I noticed when it started was it was a scene where Leon was passed out for a bit, and Hunnigan talks to him, and she's like, where were you? I was worried. Well, in the remake, he does not flirt with Hunnigan. Remember in the original when she was like, where were you? I was getting worried, and Leon was like, don't you mean lonely? And it was awesome, and like Leon was the fucking man. And that's not in there. She just says like, you were out for 4 hours, and then he was like, yeah, I'm good. I don't. On top of them taking Luis's line about ballistics out, I'm like, those don't feel like decisions made for the fans. Let me put it that way. Is it going to ruin the game? No, of course not. It's just, I don't know. The game's probably going to be great. It looks fucking great. From everything I've heard from the directors of the game and the members of the development team, they know how special Resident Evil 4 is, and they did not want to fuck it up. Hopefully, Resident Evil 3 was their biggest flub. Hopefully, Bloober Team can deliver a faithful Silent Hill 2 remake. But in case they can't, again, I gotta urge you to play the original Silent Hill 2. It is worth your time, I guarantee it. There are games that some of you are too young to have truly
not only just played, but even if you had played them, you were too young to really understand what you had in your hands. You know what I mean? It's a very special thing, and those of us who were, my age or older, we look back very fondly on Silent Hill 2, and that is for a very good fucking reason, and you owe it to yourself. If you call yourself a gamer, a true fucking gamer, bro, you owe it to yourself to go back in time and play that shit. I That's all I really have for now. If you want to know what's coming up, as soon as that fucking Resident Evil 4 gameplay demo is released, you can bet your ass I'm going to play it. I'm going to record, and I'm going to make a video about it and give you my impressions. I am also working on my Resident Evil Village video. That's taking a while because I got a lot to say about that game. Um, on the back burner, I also have the Final Fantasy VII remake video, and then just other stuff that I think of. I also plan to make some more evergreen content, as they say. The kind of content that people will always kind of look for, kind of like, how do you fix the toilet? How do you build a shelf? Someone at some point is always going to need to know, so they're going to look it up. But if you want an example of videos I've made that are sort of evergreen, my fixed camera angle video. That's definitely one of them. But yeah, it's evergreen content, stuff that I can talk about that's just sort of in a general sense what makes video games, how they are, mechanics, how do you define a genre, how do what evergreen stuff, all right? Just stuff that's not topical, but stuff that, hardcore video game geeks can like really digest and enjoy. So yeah, those are my plans for the future. Um, so be on the lookout for those, and I will see you guys next time.